Radio, ready to go.
This is such a scratch.
Welcome back, y'all. Another episode of Unorthodox Film Podcast.
Yeah, I'm very proud of myself because we're getting to the end of our first year, and I finally opened my can without getting it wet on the screen.
Or the microphone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection of our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host,
Joseph Quick. What's up, y'all?
Tonight, we are guestless for our second week in a row, which is just fine. Joe and I are going to sit here, and we are going to talk today about a couple of things. Last week, we made our recommendations for non-MCU superhero films and randomly selected Masters of the Universe from 1987.
Yes,
and so we're going to start our conversation and talk a little bit about that movie. And later we will be discussing our recommendations for off-color college comedies. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. But first, Masters of the Universe, Joe. Masters of the Universe.
I mean, what a good topic this one stemmed from. And we had a little trouble with the rolling because
we are
none of the movies we came up with were
so many of them were not available readily on streaming. But we did end up with Masters of the Universe. I'm very glad because I haven't seen it really since I was a young kid when I saw it, and I'm very appreciative of it.
It's
couple of things,
quite a while for me too.
A couple of things I noticed. One, being made in 1987, it's obviously right on the heels of Star Wars, and you can see so much of that at the very opening. Yeah. When Skeletor first walks in, two things. One, the musical themes throughout the entire movie were very, very reminiscent of John Williams'
inspired
Star Wars. But the other was him walking in outside of the cane. Darth Vader did not have a walking stick of any kind.
The staff,
like his
staff.
The dark soldiers were very stormtrooper-like. And him walking up the alley was very reminiscent of him coming off of that tie-wing fighter. I forget what they call the giant nose Star Wars thing. But yeah, a lot of the movie, even throughout, just kept hinting back to me, like even right up to the spoiler alert. Mandatory. We got it. So here's the thing with this one. This one. We're recording this episode back-to-back with our last episode, and so we watched it right after recording, and within hours of recording this, it's no longer going to be available on Amazon. And
will be available on Tubi.
And presently, it's probably still available, hopefully still available on Tubi. But this isn't one of those movies where like we can really spoil it. Like it's silly fun. You can't first off, don't go into this movie watching it seriously. And I think if you did watch it, I hope that you took away the fun of it. It was a child's movie based off of a Hasbro toy that then spawned a cartoon, and it was very loose.
Did the cartoon not come first?
No, it was the toy.
Oh, I know the toy came first.
Yeah.
And then the cartoon. And then the movie.
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's all I was saying.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was a successful cartoon before they aired it as a movie.
Yeah, I know. I love the cartoon. That's why I watched the movie as a kid, and why I saw it so much. And I'm so familiar with it still to this day, even though I haven't seen it in 20 years.
So we are going to mention plot points,
Probably.
but I would let's stick around for the conversation on this one because hopefully it'll just inspire you if you didn't see it to go see it. But at the end, when Skeletor makes that final attempt at beating He-Man,
Jumping right to the end.
well,
right
because
now?
I'm finishing up my Star Wars comparison, and he falls into the abyss, and he's falling into the green screen. It's so very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi, which I believe came out the same year.
Really, more reminded me of Return of Zod. No, I'm kidding. I'm 100% joking. Oh, that's good.
All right, so I'm looking that up. I thought Joe was going to say something when he cut me off like that, and then he just left dead air. 1983, so there was plenty of time for them to steal it and just redo it. So, I mean, for me, I definitely think that they were going after the Star Wars audience.
100%.
Even though, to me, they're two different.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
They're two different types of stories, but it definitely seems like the viewership, the demographic they were going for.
Grunts or soldiers or whatever you call it, the henchmen of theirs were 100% black stormtroopers. Like
they even missed like stormtroopers.
They were worse than stormtroopers because not only did they miss more than stormtroopers somehow, but they got shot a lot,
and they just had so many of them. Every time they shot all of them, there were more coming.
And they moved their fighting front in way too close to shoot. With the lasers. It's lasers.
Yeah, everything was super close battle. So to me, so it was 1987, which is the tail end of the 80s, and there was so much of the 80s in this. A couple of things.
But essentially, it was the epitome of an 80s flick.
With the stuff that takes place in Eternia, there was a lot of mats. You could see like that wide shot I was talking about in the opening where the soldiers were all lined up across that bridge. A lot of that was matte painting.
Yeah, it opened with a matte painting.
Giant matte painting. The Castle Grayskull was a giant matte painting, which was marvelous.
Well.
Yeah, because I could tell that it was paint, but I was like, well, this is how things were.
For the time, it was spectacular.
How is that any different than, nowadays it would be replaced with a computer painted image, right?
Yeah.
So it's still not there.
No, it's just more technology to fool your eye into three-dimensional shapes.
Right. So I thought for being what it was still enjoyable to set the tone and set the
most questionable thing about anything in that world was the shots used during the close-up action sequences.
The close-up action sequences.
Especially that first one.
So the shots were like maybe we were watching a copy that somehow didn't fit the screen and it was zoomed in because I was getting like He-Man's waist and his elbow,
like just his face, but not the whole face. And on a weird moment, like, or like he'd swing the sword and you'd see like I don't know, like
this is one of the things I noticed about it. So the show, I don't recall the show having a lot of guns and lasers and stuff, but then it's been a long time, so I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe it didn't. But I do remember He-Man using his sword a whole lot more. And He-Man in this movie
like that a little bit, but it was mainly
rarely used his sword. It wasn't until like the very end when he really utilized it like he was a master swordsman.
He was using his sword quite a bit, but he was also mainly stealing their guns and using them.
I mean, he had his sword. It seemed like it was in his way a lot. Then he'd swing it and block something, but overall he was blasting.
Grenades and for sure, 100%.
The blasty.
Because they had to appease the Star Wars crowd somehow. How do we have to have lasers. We have to have a portal and like I don't know. The cosmic key is still pretty cool.
So the plot wasn't as bad as I remembered it being. As a kid, and as an adult, thinking back to watching it as a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't remember any of it being in Eternia. It was all in like human space, and like that's dumb." Watching it now, a little more cognizant than I was at whatever single-digit age I was the last time I saw the movie.
Sure.
It clicked more. It made the plot made more sense. It definitely felt lifted from something other than a He-Man tale. But again, like I said on the last episode, I wasn't. You can't watch this as a He-Man movie.
Cox's character and her parents and all that,
right?
Like that. Yeah, that was like a familiar. That's to ground it into some sort of real emotion. Yeah.
And the Man Away from Home or Lost Person type, that they were, the heroes were.
Yeah.
With was it Grinwald? What's the little guy's name?
Grimwald?
Grildor, the little inventor.
Such a hoggle. If you like the Labyrinth, watch it just for this guy. He was great.
Played by Billy Barty, and Billy Barty. I was looking back. He's done a lot.
Did he play Hoggle?
He did not.
Okay,
but he did play one of the. I'm trying to remember what the character's name was, but he was in Legend, and he played. I want to say Stinker or. It was one of the friendly. I don't remember what they called the creatures in that movie.
What movie?
Legend.
Yeah, I can't remember the. Yeah.
But he was in that. He was High Aldwin in Willow, and then he did a lot of voice acting, DuckTales and But Screwball. He was Screwball in Legend.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah.
No, you got me thinking of what those things were called.
Yeah, I don't remember because there were so many different creatures, and I don't want to say anything that was wrong.
I did, trying to think of it. I was like, did we miss the change subjects? We hadn't. Okay,
no. But the lead He-Man, played by Dolph Lundgren, was only He-Man. This is what I mean. Like you don't need any He-Man knowledge.
Prince Adam.
No Prince Adam. He didn't say I have the power until the very end, and then they squished it and did it twice. Yeah. His delivery of it was
they had taken his sword and he got his sword back.
They had taken the sword at the end. Like we said, he still walked around with it. So when we started with him, he was post. He was post that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had so much fun with this, man. It was so glad we watched it.
Yeah, it was a good watch. I still enjoy it as much as I did as a kid. Like the graphics hold up, knowing it's from the 80s. They did a good job with the resources they had. There was some money behind this production.
Truth be told, I enjoy what is there. I think that's one of the things about going back and watching things from decades past, where if you're expecting the quality that you get today, you're doing yourself a disservice. Instead, go back and watch it
for sure
with the appreciation of this is what they were doing. I'm guilty of it. Like
some movies they overdo it, and I'm like, what they did could be like use today's technology with the same kind of shot you would use. Why make it overly vast? Like building these huge worlds where. I don't know. And
it was cool because the blending of I wasn't even really sure. Like, okay, so when Skeletor at the very the beginning of the third act, when they get the key and they call Skeletor, and then Skeletor and his troops show up, and Skeletor comes in on this giant floating throne, through the portal, and I was watching it because it's floating, and you see the light underneath it. I was like, did they have this thing on set? Did they shoot this on a different set and then composite it?
Right.
So I do believe it was on set.
It was on set.
But there are moments
was underneath, and that light that you're talking about,
that little red light,
looked like it was shining down. That's where they wiped out where the wheels and stuff were, and kind of manipulated the film almost to get that red color.
So the blending was really cool.
It was.
The blending was really cool. Well. I thought it was, seamless enough for the tail end of the 80s and the...
Right.
Because, Star Wars created a lot of the technology. And that was back in, I don't know how long it is. Its first Star Wars release, I believe, in 77. So let's say it took them 2 years, 75, they started delivering. So now we're talking 10, 12 years ahead of time. Right. If you look at where we're at right now, we're definitely about 20 years into the CGI revolution. And aren't we getting a lot, even though we can do a lot better, aren't we doing a lot less because they're trying to do it faster and sloppy?
Lower budgets.
So I think the 87 to 90 era, it started to have some of that blending of they got lazy on some things and then new things were coming and they were trying new things.
Sure, but I think this was at a pinnacle of that mixing where they did some really good work because they were doing the best they could with what they had. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Frank Langella, I thought, played a fun Skeletor. It's not the Skeletor, it's a different... It's his Skeletor is to the cartoon Skeletor as Jack Nicholson's Joker was to the comic book or the cartoon Joker. It was the Joker, but it was different. I
can see that. Yeah, no, it was. It was not the Skeletor you're used to. He played it very seriously, very almost poetically, like this poetic darkness.
He, I was looking online, and take for what you will, information came from IMDb, and it's like the Wikipedia of all things movie. But he says that it's one of his favorite roles to have played, and he took it with graciousness because both 3 of his kids were big He-Man fans.
That's a great...
And so he just loved the experience. And it was hell for him with all that makeup and prosthetics and everything.
Oh, and that other guy, the goblin one with the white hair.
Oh, man.
Like
all of it. You could see them struggling to try and move the mouth because the mouth moved while they talked. But like, and you could, I don't know how much that was ADR, probably a lot of it. But you could understand. He couldn't move his lips. There's no lip movement.
He didn't have lips.
They were completely prosthetic over.
Straight face to teeth to open mouth. He couldn't even close his mouth. Yeah.
I cannot end talking about this without talking about James Tolkien, who you may not know by name. I didn't know him by name until I looked him up here, but when I saw him come on screen, I was like, oh, that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it's the he's the completely shaved, completely bald head shaved gentleman with a stern look, and he was the principal in Back to the Future.
Yes, sir.
And he was
Skinner.
One of
not
the
Skinner.
I actually
Strickland.
Strickland, yeah. And then he was one of the commanding officers, I think one of the naval commanding officers in Top Gun to Tom Cruise's character. So you know him by face, and you see him, you're like, he's always ornery, but his role in this was so fun because it looked like he was having fun with the role that he always gets, but like...
Got to be silly sci-fi.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. And at the end, when he's like, I'm
staying right here. I got a beautiful woman. I got a whole land.
I'm a general. Yeah, it was hilarious. Yeah, he had and like the point where he's like, I'm going to get back up, and like runs away from the height of the battle, really, before it's taken back to
Not
eternity.
only that, but when he comes back he's got the same shotgun that he left the store owner, which he had no rounds, nothing. There was no ammo.
2 rounds. Every time he had 2 rounds. No. Yeah, he took that from the shop owner, and he runs off to get backup. And when he comes back with backup, it is literally 5 seconds after the whole army has gone through the portal back to Eternia. So all the cops think he's nuts.
Oh, my God.
And then they close in on them building the portal to go back. And part of the whole fucking alley and the Cadillac goes back with him because he had tapped into a fucking
keyboard.
Well, with the keyboard and some other equipment, he tapped into that transformer, that public power transformer. So obviously he was dealing with different materials than he's used to in his world.
Right.
So I think that's why the alley came back. Who knows?
Yeah, it was overpowered.
But like the fact that he had all those cops as backup, none of them came back to help with shooting. And like, but they saw a whole alley disappear.
What's there in its place?
Yeah, just
what is there in its place?
A void of nothing. Because nothing seemed to be missing from Eternia where they landed.
Where they just plopped it right in place. So here's some interesting news.
Classic 80s.
Set for 2026, Masters of the Universe. A young man on Earth discovers a fabulous secret legacy as the prince of an alien planet and must recover a magic sword and return home to protect his kingdom. Now, I don't know. This is Nicholas Galitzine is He-Man. It says he's a small-looking fellow.
Okay. Yeah, I've not heard of him.
Eva Lynn is going to be Alison Brie.
Okay.
Man-at-Arms is going to be Idris Elba.
Nice.
Tila is Camila Mendez, who I don't recognize. Let's see. She was in... don't recognize her. She's been around. Born in 94. Let's see if there's... Those are the only characters that are listed right now. So as of right now... I imagine nothing has actually started filming.
If for nothing but the sake of Idris Elba's career and the fact that he constantly does movies that get canceled or not released, or like it's like over shit, like he was almost a Bond and like all these other things.
Well, I think they're going to ride on the high of Barbie and see how far they can get with that. I mean, comic books are drying up. They know that they are. So these movie companies are just doing what they can on any property. And usually they don't care what they do with it. It doesn't have to be good.
No, as long as it's merchandisable.
Yeah.
It's based on a toy.
And they can sell more toys. So Dolph Lundgren, this is in the trivia, wanted Chris Hemsworth to play He-Man, but Hemsworth turned it down because of its similarities to Thor.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Right? I would too. I'd be like, no fucking way.
No,
you're Dolph Lundgren. You could only act in those things.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely recommend you check out Masters of the Universe. Hopefully, it's still streaming by the time you hear this. I would check Tubi and Hoopla. It's one that I'll definitely visit again because it was fun. It's something I definitely would just turn my mind off and throw it on and doom scroll while it's playing. But if you've never seen it, I've seen it, so I can doom scroll and still enjoy it. You should watch it.
Yeah.
So now let's get to our list. We are going to do what we're calling
off-color comedies.
Off-color college comedies. Yeah. Yes. So, Joe, tell our listeners a little bit about kind of what we're aiming for today. And do I sound echoey?
No, right. A little bit. I don't know if you're farther off.
Oh, I'm like filleting this thing.
Well, I'll turn you up a little bit. Where was I? Okay, so the classic college ruse, and I'm not talking about like the fraternity movie or stuff like that, but let's think, back to Horse Feathers or Animal House.
That's a fraternity movie, though. I mean, fraternities are allowed. Fraternities are allowed, right?
What was Animal House? 1950, 1952, something?
No, it's not that old. It's 70-something, bro.
The 70s, 1970. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking.
I'll look at it.
There was some.
Yeah, so basically, we're looking for movies that take the college life and exaggerate it a little bit. Take the oversexed nature of it, like the offhanded, off-color, misogynistic, feminist, the hyperization of what college life is to an exaggerated comedic effect.
Yeah, to take it to but to the point where it was so outlandish. And I wanted to, when we thought of this topic, I brought it up thinking yes, sure, Animal House is the first ever real big comedy that did this, right?
78. Animal House was 78.
78, right. So my bad.
So if we're not going to put Animal House on the list, let's talk about Animal House a little bit and what it did. So first off, it's a National Lampoon. It's National Lampoon's first movie. National Lampoon, if you didn't know, was a small publication at Harvard that was student run.
Yeah.
I think it's always been there, but then the guy who led National Lampoons, I'm not going to remember his name, and I don't know if I'll be able to recognize it off of the Animal House list here, but he and some friends, they started writing for it, and it was a satire publication, and it's Harvard, so it had a highbrow nature to it. And then they kind of took the success of that and launched it, got distribution, and eventually, long story short, with some ties to SNL, they started doing movies, and Animal House was the first movie. But Animal House is a movie that takes place on a college campus with a fraternity that's notorious for having huge parties and getting out of control. You'll most notably know the John Belushi. He sucks down a whole thing of Jack Daniels in one gulp. He wears that.
Yeah.
He wears that sweatshirt that says college on it that everyone wears. The toga party, toga.
The toga party is amazing, but that first party where they kind of opens the movie and brings in and initiates every character.
The quick Kevin Bacon cameo.
Yeah. There's so much just fun stuff in that. But I was. But
so that sends a tone. Well, don't take too many titles.
No. This is one that's even older that I would maybe definitely most people would know that I had seen and didn't think of until I was looking this up, and it was a second tier Marx Brothers movie back in 1932 called Horse Feathers, and it's an old timey movie about old timey college life when things were a bit more upper crust and formal. College the way Mr. Burns and Loyal Gilmore's father remember it. It's this whole. It's a black and white. It's just it goes back. So obviously this is more something that Animal House is probably trying to
be derivative of,
and be derivative of, or bring into the modern day, which is why we also thought a movie we've talked about on another episode.
We weren't going to talk about Animal House. We were going to talk about that one, but
right.
So we're going to save that.
Well, that was my mistake.
That's okay, but now we're here. So
all right. So
we're gonna save it,
even though it's already been discussed.
Whatever.
Okay, so you're not.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
If at worst it's going to be
here,
if
so
at
I'm
worst it's going to be on the discards, the honorable mentions. So let's get to it then. We seem to be pretty excited to start mentioning some stuff. So
yeah, I am excited.
You started us out on the last episode, so I think I'll go ahead and start us out on this episode. How does that sound?
Yeah.
So I am going to go because my list is not very exhaustive. It's long enough for me to have enough of my own, unless you cross over. So that's why I'm worried about titles dropping
for sure.
So the first title I'm going to mention tonight is, I believe, 2001. I will double check, but it's got our hero Deadpool in it as Van Wilder.
Yes, sir. That's definitely on my list, and the epitome of what we're going for in this. Yeah, that is one.
So Van Wilder
took it to the next level.
Ryan Reynolds, 2002. Ryan Reynolds plays repeat college
freshman.
Is he still a freshman?
I don't know.
But repeat. I think he's at like his junior year, and he's got one more because his dad comes
going and going.
But yeah, he's career student, and he's content because he is just living the college party life, and he is the center of all trouble.
Right. He's preying on the freshmen to get an assistance.
He's got a wealthy dad, and his dad is over him just not graduating, so his dad gives him an ultimatum, and they have to figure some things out. And
he says, you've been in college 7 years, and
7
you have
years.
not a thing to show for it.
Yes. But it introduced me. I don't know if it introduced everybody, but it introduced me to Cal Penn playing his Taj Mahal, playing his assistant. They do zany.
It was basically the first half of the first act of him trying to find.
So that's
personal assistant.
All the different jokes and things are based on the two of them trying to keep Van Wilder in school. And somehow pacify his father, so he has to pay
his
for it.
His dad cut him off, so now he's got to raise money for tuition. The classic, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds' real introduction to the wide public. He was in Two Guys Are Going to Pizza Place before that. It didn't. I don't think it was a huge hit, but that movie really lifted him off.
And he was a small-time Canadian child actor as well. And he had done some things, but this is unlike A Guy Going to Police Place. This was one of those roles like that sitcom where he was able to showcase his comedy and his wit. You know what I mean? And really just kind of run with the script. And I think when him and Cal Penn got together, the ability to improv probably surprised even the directors and producers, because it created like a whirlwind of comedy. They made a sequel off of it, and they even the American Pie people tried to copy that kind of
Van Wilder actually came out after American Pie. American Pie was 2001.
But I'm talking about later on the American Pie people.
Ironically enough,
to the college realm.
I didn't realize this when I recommended it, but looking at it now, and I can see that we moved and tied Animal House to Van Wilder, and they are both National Lampoon.
They are, yes, yeah. No, I was very aware of that. I don't know. I figured we'd mentioned it. Oh, you didn't say National
I
Lampoon's
didn't. No.
I didn't know you hadn't.
No. So now I am.
I just inferred it. There's
all right, Joe. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed Van Wilder. It was great. It was one of the.
It was one of the earliest quotable movies in my life from my generation.
Quotable.
I don't think we quote it a lot now, but back in the day, we used to quote Van Wilder quite a bit.
Yeah. So here's another one that I used to quote a lot. That I don't know if most people saw it, but Accepted. Which is 2006. It says teen comedy, but you're maybe 19?
18, 19, in college. I mean, it's 4 teens, I'd imagine. Even kids going into college from high school would watch it.
but this is Justin Long. It's directed by Steve Pink. It's got Justin Long, Maria Thayer, Jonah Hill,
Black,
Blake Lively, Hannah Marks, Lewis Black, Sarah Jean Underwood,
Ryan and Blake right next to each other,
Robin Lord Taylor, like just so many.
So what's great about this is it's
comedic actors, and
it's in the early 2000s, college was starting to get pretty expensive. I mean, it's expensive now, but like that was when it really started to get out of hand.
Yeah, and
because it was within 20 years of the student loans and the government backing student loans, so schools realized they could start charging more. So the capitalist nature of school
this
was
is
really
right before all
starting
those online stores started kicking off.
Absolutely.
And even before like the fraudulent ones.
And accepted, Justin Long's character does not get accepted into he's turned down from a shitload of different universities and decides to just open up a university in his own backyard and accept anyone.
Yep, he opens his own university. Barbie and his similarly stymied friends take over an abandoned building to create a fake website and hire his friend's uncle to pose as the dean.
That's Lewis
Black, right? So, and this is an old broken down like asylum, psych ward. Like there's even an old fucking shock therapy machine in there.
Oh yeah.
So a school is born. However,
love the name of the school.
Jobs too well.
South Harmon Institute of Technology.
Yeah, but they do their job too well, and they made the website to show their parents clickable, right? So soon, many other rejects try to gain admittance to the non-existent South Harmon Institute of Technology. Go shitheads.
Go shitheads.
It's just hilarity ensues. And, at some point, like, they make it for a while. I'm not going to tell you how long. I'm not going to spoil it. Like, they pull it off to an extent. Like, these kids really feel like they've created something. And I believe they wind up going through and getting some sort of validation through it.
There's going to be, it's going to end some way. Modern millennium, the way that we end movies are definitely a lot different than before. So I'm sure the studio wanted happy-ish ending.
No, but I highly recommend it. It's super funny. It's so entertaining. It's free-spirited, and it's not that fraternity style movie. They make fun of frats in it, actually.
Yeah.
Ask me about my winner.
Yeah, I don't remember quotes from it.
Oh, it's so quotable, dude. So many good ones, and you get to see Justin Long put on a British accent for some reason.
And that was when he was starting to get strong. That was a big part of his career.
Blitzkrieg Creek Bub. And for some reason, he does it with a British accent. Because his character in no way is.
No.
Yeah, it's just funny. When he sings it, he just falls into this.
Okay, so my next recommendation is going to be from 1984. And is about the separation of those that do sports and those that do homework.
Let me guess.
This is Revenge.
Nerds!
Which is a questionable movie. There are a lot of movies, especially from I would just from the 90s to earlier, that have elements that, due to us growing as a society, don't accept. And I believe the ending to this movie is one of those. I'm not going to spoil what it is because I still recommend that you watch. But Revenge of the Nerds is about a group of outcasts, the nerds, that are bullied by the multiple number of different fraternities and jocks and so forth on the college campus. And it's just traditional buffoonery throughout. You've got a lot of stereotypes. You've got a lot like hard stereotypes, whether it be type of person or type of origin and culture. And they really go hard on exaggerating, as they used to do in comedies, exaggerating these different characteristics. But overall, it's a battle of, not really good versus evil. It's just a battle of the social classes, a battle of the inner
social classes is the best. Like your inner turmoil, Yeah, like doesn't everybody? It's the coming of age of going through college and finding out who you are outside of your hometown and your family.
Right.
The cushion of the friends you've supposedly created that you can't live without, and apparently now don't mean anything.
Right.
We'll stay in touch.
You know, you've got the quote unquote hot sororities, and then you got the Omega Moose.
All
right?
I know is when I moved away, it wasn't for college, but I wrote letters to people, and not one month wrote back.
Yeah.
Except for my cousin Katrina. Thanks, Katrina.
So yeah, Revenge of the Nerds is for me a classic. It was one of those ones that used to be on Comedy Central like all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So you get to see, you know, in pieces depending on when you picked it up.
But it's still like it's better on its own without the TV cut where you have the little bit of 80s style profanity or judgy weird racism and I mean it's just part of the culture.
It's all there. Yeah, it is definitely. I mean, it's 1984 and it is what it is. Enjoy it for what it is. Definitely don't think that we're condoning any of the specific behaviors because it's just a movie. Remember that with all of art, it is just a movie. I can't stress that enough because we're going to talk about things on these episodes, future episodes that may have things in them that we don't necessarily agree upon, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the product.
100%.
The hundreds of people that put their time and effort into it. So what are you going to recommend for us next? And then we will take our break.
We are going to go to what I believe is a classic from the 90s, 1998 to be specific. Probably one of the better roles, in my opinion, for Mr. Mark Paul Gosselaar, as well as Mr. Tom Everett Scott. Dead Man on Campus.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The college freshman
that was?
Josh, 1998.
98.
Dark comedy. College freshman Josh and Cooper, Everett Scott and Paul Gosselaar, are more interested in hitting the bottle than hitting the books, and their poor grades are set to get them kicked out of school. Their only hope of passing is to find a roommate who will kill himself. That's because an oddball college code states that a suicide victim's roommate automatically gets straight A's. But sharing space with a lineup of lunatics proves enough to drive the boys both crazy. And, I mean, you can just imagine how much fun ensues there. You got Lachlan Burrow, Poppy
Tom Everett Scott,
Allison Hannigan, Randy Pearlson, just a whole slew of Linda Cardellini, Jason Segel make appearances. Like, it's such a good romp through academia, through the fact of just trying to yes, Mark Paul Gosselaar's character is the son of a plumbing empire owner, right? So he doesn't want to work with shit his whole life, but he just wants to smoke weed and get, so he just wants to chill. Dude, your dad's paying for you to get you through college. At least get the degree so that you don't have to be a shit pumper or whatever, right. Whatever he's worried about. No, he's got to find somebody that one of these sad fucks is going to kill themselves. They might as well be our roommate, so I don't have to go to class.
Man, I can't believe that Allison Hannigan was in it as well.
Oh yeah, and everybody who plays little cameo roles in that turned out to be pretty big stars, or at least in my eyes, they were successful. So I hope they feel that they were, because I enjoyed their careers ever since.
Yeah, I put Dead Man on Campus on my list, and I'm glad you mentioned because I don't remember. I remember really loving it, and I remember that I loved it and no one else had seen it, which was weird because it was
on VHS.
Yeah, it was being in 98, I didn't always watch the hottest, newest things, and I was like, oh man, I watched this thing.
Sure.
And then for years it went untalked about, just like Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, because he's a talented actor.
Yeah. I mean, he has actually still been around. He's just not the star that he once was. But this was an MTV film.
He's still making a living.
So that also surprises me that it didn't take off, just being, pushed and produced by one of the bigger.
Well, it was big enough in its time, I think, for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in in theaters, small release, and
it definitely didn't have the risks
it was for home video,
and it was a theater movie.
Yeah, it had a small theater.
But I could see stuff like that, being more successful in the college dorms, being passed
so
on
it had
VHS.
like a college city national release. It wasn't like in every city. Like it was in a lot of cities with prominent colleges and shit like that.
Let me see.
It did all right. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I think it's great. I think it's hilarious. I think it covers every man because Scott Everett he just wants to study. And then he gets caught up in the party life, and he literally just wants to study, but his roommate won't let him study because you have to be at the parties because all the girls like you because you're sweet and nice, and I'm a deviant. He is. He's such a... That's what I love about it because he had just gotten off of and probably was in between seasons of freaking Saved by the Bell. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Just doing the college years and shit.
And it looks like, So Thomas Everett, I'm trying to remember. I was like, what did I know him from? He's That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do, yeah. And also Big.
And so it was him in Big.
It was. He was the young boy, yeah. And he's been trying to be an actor. And when Tom Cruise was making That Thing You Do,
Tom
he was
Hanks.
like, Tom Hanks.
You're
right. No, you're definitely right. Tom Cruise. What the fuck would it?
That's all right. That's all right. We make those. We make slip-ups.
When Tom Hanks made That Thing You Do, he was like, "Oh, you're still alive? Yeah, come on." And because he actually played the drums, right?
So, Spartacus.
I am Spartacus.
All right, so that brings us to our break. I was just going to fire off my next pick, but we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we will see you guys in just a moment. Always so nice when it's cold. Mm-hmm. All right, welcome back. So Joe and I are making our recommendations tonight for off-colored college comedies. We started our list off with Van Wilder, Accepted, Revenge of the Nerds, and Dead Man on Campus. How do you feel so far about the list there, Joseph?
I feel about it good. And I feel good about it. I just said it. That's a great list.
I know. You said it as I was asking the question, I left you space to, if you wanted to. I'm feeling good about it, too. I'm getting nervous that... I don't have 12 personal ones. I didn't make a list of 12, so I'm just hoping that I have enough to match yours. So it's my pick, and you did Dead Man on Campus.
I know it is. I'm just like,
are you nervous now too?
No,
so you should be nervous.
I'm not nervous.
Should be.
You're not. Say your pick already.
I know. Well, preambly, we got to fill time. We have to fill time, Joe.
Okay. All right.
So now that you've helped me fill time with that, I am going to mention Road Trip. Road Trip with Tom Green.
Yeah. I remember.
Breckenmeyer, Sean William Scott, DJ Qualls.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Was it Amy? Yep, Amy Smart. This is an early Todd Phillips movie. I don't remember if it was his first, but this is a movie about a long-distance relationship. Breckenmeyer's character's in a long-distance relationship. They are in, it's a big part of the plot, man. Ithaca? They're in Ithaca, I believe. Yeah, they're in Ithaca.
Yeah, Ithaca's.
They're at Ithaca, and she is in Texas somewhere, in Austin. And he cannot get a hold of her, and his friends fill his head with the fact that she is out at some party doing up some hot dude at this Texas frat party, and that he should just be out doing that as well. And he meets Amy Smart, and then they do things, and he records. So him and his girlfriend have this regular habit of sending each other tapes, and that's what it was. He was calling
letters
if she'd received it, and
pre-internet,
right? So he ends up sending her an unfortunate admission of his evening with Amy Smart. And then from there, they have to try and retrieve it.
Yeah,
so
intercept it.
They get on a little road adventure and, hilarity ensues.
It is. It's great. It's a good one. I remember it opens up as I believe Tom Green's character is still around. And
Tom Green is the Van Wilder. He's
taking people on tours and telling the stories, and he ends up making out with one of the kids' moms.
So he is the narrator of the story because he is still there at the school, however long after the story took place.
I remember. Yeah, I saw this a couple times back when it came out. When I was younger, and it's a good one.
It's fun. It takes the college humor on the road and links it between colleges. It still really hits the same themes. They stop at a brother frat on the way down somewhere in I think Alabama or something like that. So it's an all black school, and they pretend like they're part of the brothers in the fraternity, which is an all black fraternity.
I forget the actor's name. The one guy who plays the stoner knows the secret handshake.
Yes. And they let them in. They know they're lying.
See color.
And from there now you've got another house party scene, and it's awesome. DJ Qual goes off on fucking jump around. House of Pain. So Road Trip is my recommendation.
Very nice.
What year was that in? That was in 2000.
All right, well, I'm going to follow with the following year, 2001, stoner comedy, How High?
Nice.
Multi-platinum rap superstars Redman and Method Man star as Jamal and Silas, two regular guys who smoke something magical, ace their college entrance exams, and wind up at Harvard. Ivy League ways are strange, but Silas and Jamal take it in a stride until their supply of supernatural smoke runs dry. That's when they have to start living by their wits and rely on their natural resources to make the grade. And obviously Method Man, Redman, Mike Epps, Al Shearer.
Al Shearer. Yeah. He was Hal Shearer from Simpsons and Spinal Tap.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
So I remember it being funny. I don't think I've seen the whole movie.
It's hilarious.
It's one of those things that it's just been on. And
but you want to talk
laughing.
about the quintessential buddy comedy in college, but they're it's take on the frats and and change the status quo, and so it's brilliantly done. I loved it.
Yeah, it's one that I wish I'd seen more or closer to when it was, but I'd still like to.
Method Man's character is actually very good and very skilled at botany, right? So he's really trying to do that, and his rival is the guy who's dating the girl he's after or whatever, but he's in crew, right? Who does rowing, and somehow Redman has made it his vendetta to beat this guy at crew and to become captain of the team. So it's this whole thing. It's hilarious. So they're all fighting with these, the preppy, early rise jocks who go running in the morning and stuff. Right. And actually, Redman starts doing it, but only when he's got this special weed for some reason. Oh no, they only use the special weed for tests, I think. Yeah, they had other weed.
That's hilarious.
For regular times.
Well, I don't have anything else to say. I do remember the soundtrack being, because obviously
Rammstein's Du Hast,
really
waking him up with a blunt
with the band or with the soundtrack with the needle drop.
It's in the soundtrack.
Okay,
it's just iconic. It's good stuff. Good times.
So that era really had a pin on these types of movies because there really are quite a few options. Yeah. I'm going to take us just one more year further and do 2002's Slackers with Devon Sawa and Jason Segel.
Okay, yeah.
Where they learn of a ring of students who are stealing the exam scores, the Scantron answers, and because they find out about it, they blackmail them, and his motivations to do it is to get the girl. And, again, hijinks and hilarity ensue. It's got, I'm looking at the cast, I wouldn't have known who they were at the time, but now, checking it out, you got Laura Prepon, you've got Jason Segel, as I mentioned.
Right.
I can't spread this list out.
I have seen it when it came out, but it would be almost a fresh watch.
Oh, 100% for me as well. It was one that Jason Schwartzman's in it, Jamie King.
Nice.
Nat Faxon, wow. First thing I remember him from was he was in one of the Broken Lizard movies some days ago. But he's funny. It was just it's fun. It's not serious in itself, right? And I think that's what's so fun about this type of movie is it is just taking the what if and let's go balls to the limit as far as like what we can and should not do. There's the drinking humor, the pot humor, like it's college humor. It's all there, but it's so rooted in that era that like that's a movie. If you wanted to know like what it was like back in 2000, 2001, 2002, Slackers nails it. I think so does whereas Van Wilder I don't think does. Like they're both 2002s, right?
Like not real culture. No,
you can't really look at it. Obviously the wardrobe is going to be the wardrobe, but like
National Lampoon's was known for overdoing the characterization of the frat boys,
exactly,
like the straight guy and the guy who wants to have a good time.
Yeah,
and
Slackers is more. I think Slackers and Dead Man on Campus are two that I
every
think,
man to the table.
100%.
But there's still those outlandish characters in there.
Yeah.
Just not as unrealistic.
No, but the tropes are lived in for sure. They definitely ride in on who the smart kid is, what the jock looks like, what the stoner looks like, and so on. So what do you got for us next there, Joe?
I'm going to jump back in time and go back to 1998 again with Adam Sandler's The Water Boy.
I thought about putting this one on. That's so awesome.
Yeah, raised by his overprotective mother, Helen, played by the wonderful Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, oh yeah.
Mr. Baba Boucher Jr. Adam Sandler.
Playing the foosball.
Is the water boy for a successful college football team coached by Red Ballou, played by Jerry Reed. When Beaulieu fires Bobby, he takes up the same position for a losing rival team led by despairing Coach Klein. Henry Winkler. And then after witnessing Bobby beat up a player who teased him too much, Klein adds him to the roster as a linebacker. Soon Klein's players are championship contenders. And Veruza Balk, Kathy Bates, Adam Sandler, Henry Winkler, Jerry Reed, like we said, Frank Coraci, Peter Dante,
both of those are guys that they
is in there as well.
Yeah, all of his. I think Alan Covert's in there. Rob Schneider's up in there. It's one of the Sandler ensemble movies, and it was probably one of the last ones that I really, really, really enjoyed from Adam Sandler. It was from then on. He started doing all the voices. That was probably one of the first, and that was a bit grating, but I got to see this one. I worked at the theater at the time. This one came out, and so every Wednesday,
Captain Inferno shows no mercy.
Every Wednesday we got to go after close to watch one of the upcoming weekend's movies, and that one was selected, so we got to watch that. We got to watch. I remember what the other one we watched with Adam Sandler, but they were different years, anyways. Regardless, that movie really hits. Veruza Balk is amazing. Her character is so fun. Kathy Bates and God, I don't want to say the Fonz. Henry Winkler are top tier in this movie.
Top tier, yeah. I mean, everybody brings their complete A game. Even Rob Schneider with his "You can do it," just every bit of it, the timing, the way. Yeah, it's just spectacular.
His dedication to water, like it's just really cool to have something that's so stupid and so smart at the same time. That isn't like trying to make some grandiose, bold statement. It is just saying, here, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like...
there is a social commentary on don't judge people, let them,
Yeah. And it's all around. It's not, like, it has been a long time since I've seen it, but I don't remember it being mean in any way, except towards
Bobby Boucher got bullied a lot, but by everybody.
The humor, almost. I mean, like the style of humor wasn't mean towards individual characters.
That's something Adam Sandler was always good at. Even when there was bullying, he was somehow able to make it innocent.
Sure, the peeing the pants, right?
Yeah.
He approached, I mean, especially a character, Billy Madison can yell. Billy Madison was known for yelling, but he didn't yell at the kids. He just
and nobody
pissed his pants
scared at the yelling. Joe is yelling like that. But yeah, Adam Sandler has a gift, so.
All right, so moving on to number 9. This one is going to be on me. I'm actually going to go. I didn't realize that these two movies were made by the same filmmaker until I talked about the last one. But I'm going to go with Todd Phillips' Old School.
All right. Yep. Yeah, that one's on mine too. You took it. You took it.
I did. I got to take the ones, man, because I'm running low. Slackers was my space. I felt safe with Slackers.
I got plenty.
So Old School is it is another subversion of what we're talking about. So once we get to, I don't remember what year that was. That was probably 2003, 2004. But you got to the point where, like I just said, the late 90s and the early 2000s were full of these college humor type stories. And so what's something different that can be done? 2003. So Vince Vaughn, Will Ferrell, and Luke Wilson star in this, where they are grown-ass men who are... So Luke Wilson's character basically gets into a shitty relationship that ends, and so he's bacheloring it now, and he buys a house that's on a college campus.
Yeah, like he buys it from an old professor, and it's not technically zoned, but it's literally right there. Yeah, and a battle ensues with the college.
Right. Ultimately. Well, basically, they start a fraternity because they legally can, where he's at, and they get students in, and it's just
you're my boy Blue.
Much like Accepted, it brings on characters that you wouldn't traditionally see in these stories or in this situation, and then they just raise the stakes. I mean, there's a whole kidnapping scene to Metallica where they
Will Ferrell
haze the crap out of these these pledges.
These pledges. With Jello wrestling and mud wrestling or something.
That's how Blue died. Was in that? It was it was a KY. It was all the KY jelly. It was nuts.
My boy.
But they had talked about for a while doing a sequel to it. I'm kind of glad they didn't. Because I feel like it would have been just more of the same, because you got all three of them.
Frank the Tank.
That was to say, you got Will Ferrell's character. He's in a relationship with his new wife, and they have their thing. And he had his past. And then you've got Vince Vaughn, and probably the funniest role up to that point that he was in since Swingers, and he owned like a media play and like earmuffs,
basically a circus,
and so he was living the dad life, and so it's just basically this crossing of all of the lifestyles that a man in his early to late 30s to early 40s
was his midlife crisis.
And then they take it and flip it on their head with the whole college thing. So I don't know if it's a movie that people have stopped watching. It's 20 years old now, so it's definitely in that era of probably too old or
could be. I don't know. I watched it a lot because it was always
but
on.
It's of our era. It's of our era. So I'm going to throw that one out there. If you've heard of Old School and you're looking for something along the lines of what we're talking about tonight, Old School is highly recommended. All right, Joe.
I'm going to take it back to 1985. Mr. Val Kilmer.
Ooh.
When Science Whiz, Mitch Taylor, Gabe Jarrett, arrives at Pacific Tech as a freshman. He's paired up with genius senior Chris Knight, there's the Val Kilmer, to work on a laser project. Mitch initially doesn't care for Knight's slacker attitude, but is eventually won over, and their friendship allows them to make new progress on the laser project. It's only when the boys learn that the government intends to use the laser as a weapon that they start to question what they've actually been working for. And director.
So before you mention the director, I know what you're talking about, but you didn't mention what movie this is.
Real Genius.
Real Genius.
I said Real Genius.
Did you?
Yeah, I said it real fast. Real Genius. But yeah, Real Genius is amazing. 1985 comedy sci-fi. Nice hour and 45. You know, not too long, not too quick.
No, that's a good pace.
It's got some good college pranks in it. It's got all the character tropes of the nerd and the cool guy and the wanting to be what you're not, and the guy who's
and a young Val Kilmer, man.
Yeah, and young Val Kilmer as almost the Van Wilder character. Like he's in a good spot. He's very smart, but he's like, look, why are you all trying so hard? Why are you taking everything so serious? Calm down. Why don't you enjoy life? That.
So I don't think I've seen this movie all the way through, and I'm hoping to correct that. This is actually one that I really do hope we roll. I have it written down where it's available. We're doing pretty good on availability so far this week. But somehow Real Genius is one that never came across my plate. And so I would benefit from watching that guy.
I saw this at quite a young age, probably like I don't know.
And wouldn't you know Apple TV? Oh, no. Okay, so it's at least rentable.
It's rentable on like Prime, YouTube, Google's Fandango.
Rentable's better than not available at all. So let me see.
Yeah.
I made it to the point where I only need to pick one more. So it's a question between one that I've talked about on the show before and still highly recommend, and one that I've definitely seen and I enjoy, but I don't remember a whole lot about it to really talk about it. So I'm going to go with the one that I've recommended before, so I'm definitely going to recommend it again. If you've not seen PCU, I would definitely make your way to see that. PCU is a movie that I don't know who the star is, but it's got David Spade, Jeremy Piven. It's got a John Favreau, an appearance by George Clinton and the P-Funk Railroad.
It's so good. It's such a good movie. Don't be that guy, Cooper. Don't be that guy.
So it follows a potential freshman coming onto campus in order to check the campus out to see whether or not it's the school he wants to go to the year after. And during his day there, he runs into all of the different types of students and so forth. And he is a bit on the shy side, but he runs into the preps, he runs into the slackers, he runs into the jocks, the vegans, the feminists, and it all becomes a thing. And again, like we said earlier in the show, that you're going to get a lot of stereotypes really heightened or what's the word I'm looking for? Exacerbated. And you definitely get that a lot in this movie. It's a movie called PCU on purpose.
Politically Correct University.
Yeah. And that's not the name of the university. And so it falls differently. But this movie it's a lot of fun. It all takes place in one day or the course of a weekend, I think it is. I think he's there for a weekend. Chris Young plays the young cat. But solid performances from so many people, known and unknown, that I would definitely put that recommendation back out there. So if you have yet to see PCU, I would definitely add that one to your list, especially if you're looking for something in the collegiate humor area. Joe?
Yeah. Well, you hit my list pretty hard.
I told you.
There's, there's only so many, and there are more out there for sure. But I have one here. I can't decide, man, because I don't want to. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You kind of got me at a loss. Where did it go? Because now I can't even think of what the one I was going to say is. So we've talked about Van Wilder. We did Accepted.
Mm-hmm.
The Rise of Taj and all that. And the sequels and everything. Oh, what was it? It's at the tip of my tongue because I'm looking at my phone and that's not going to find it. Oh, so you said that when you mentioned Van Wilder, this is what I was trying to remember to make the connection in my brain. Sorry.
Don't lose it.
Sometimes it takes a while. When you said Van Wilder, it was your first exposure to Cal Penn, right? And I followed his career very closely. So another one that I would like to throw out that was definitely college age, because you remember they were in school. Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, so I'm glad you did. I didn't put it on my list because I wasn't sure if the first one only. I wasn't sure if it would qualify, but I 100% believe it does because that's the other
Harold
side.
Had just got a job, and
it's the other side of the college life because they had
his doctorate,
right, and it's right at that cusp of the what am I supposed to do next phase. Yeah, and they had their other roommates or their hallmates.
Yeah, Goldstein, and Epstein, or whatever.
Yes. And they're so close in college that, they end up on a college campus throughout the night. Yes, Harold and Kumar is, man, what a great movie. I like the series, but that first movie was so brilliant.
And people didn't realize it was a real restaurant. They thought it was made up, in certain parts of the country where they don't have White Castles. And they thought maybe that the restaurant was made from the movie and stuff. I've heard stories of this. So it's just, it's become a cult classic, you know what I mean? And it's created, with the series, it's created a whole following. I love the Christmas, we watch the Christmas one on Christmas every year. Yeah. Because we don't like watching, your regular run-of-the-mill.
Your traditional classics.
Yeah, I've seen them 100 million times. Sure, throw them on in the background when a lot of families around, if that's what... I would rather throw this on in the background.
Yeah, it's because it has a lot of the elements to it, right? I mean, of some of the elements of the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation is in there. Yeah. Some of the elements of you get the musical and everything else, but the first one is what we're talking about. The first one is got the first introduction of Neil Patrick Harris playing NPH.
Yeah, it really revived his career.
His alternate, person, and he just took the opposite of everything that he is and made it. He made this coke binged, sex-fueled, manic, crazy celebrity.
Who wants to go to the strip club? Lap dance.
You've got the buddy relationship that Harold and Kumar have is so fun on screen.
Yeah, it's great.
Even though they, like any road trip. Which is great to make a road trip movie out of a trip to the restaurant. They were going far. It wasn't
it's not in the neighborhood.
They went out of their way. It was a whole discussion. Yeah. They were like, oh man, but it's 45 minutes away, but it takes them literally all night to get there. Yeah. So
literally,
if somehow Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle hasn't made it to your watch list, I'd put it at the top. That is such a banger of a movie.
That's why
it is only available right now on rental VOD or Apple TV, and I don't know how Apple TV works because it still says buy next to it.
Because it barely qualifies, but they are kind of in college.
Like I said, I thought about it too, right? So it was your approval that I was like, I don't know if Joe would take that or not, but I think it's right there. I if it were a comedy, I would say a movie like. No, I can't think of it. The Real World.
Reality Bites
would be in the vein of what we're talking about, just not a comedy, right?
Sure.
It's still the same, like it's of the, stages of college and the lost, what am I supposed to do in the junior, senior, and post.
Woe is me of your 20s.
That's a part of the college journey.
Like, I'm not a kid anymore.
And they are strongly on that in this movie here.
What do I do if it...
Right. So it's your turn to roll. So if you want to go ahead and roll there, and then we'll talk about whatever couple if we have any.
I really don't think
honorable mentions
there are any. Number 2.
Okay. I don't know if there's any one on this one list. It is accepted.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it.
It's hard to get a hold of. It's on Stars and rental right now.
I mean, I've watched it recently.
Hey, this is the Unorthodox Film Podcast show. If we want to re-roll the dice, we're going to re-roll the dice.
Because you were supposed to roll last time, you didn't roll shit. So,
Revenge of the Nerds. Here's the thing.
I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, I'm sure you would be. It is not available.
What? We just
not available for.
My wife and I just watched it
on what? Because I didn't even see it for months ago. I didn't even see it for rent, dude.
Max maybe.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Prime probably.
No. Apple TV. It doesn't even show as rental.
I don't know. I'd have to ask her.
Yeah. So.
So here's the thing. So she was watching it because we've both seen it a lot of times, and she was watching it, and I just help her get to sleep, and I woke up because it was during the one of the sex scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up in the middle of the night to the sounds of the sex.
Oh, right.
What are you watching? Right? And it was Revenge of the Nerds 2, I think, right? And it's just, I don't know which one it was, but it was at that very point, we're looking at each other in the eyes, and she didn't answer me because, count to 3. Nerds. So it was just the funniest. Yeah.
Roll the dice.
That happened.
We got to put some energy in your step here.
Into my my bedroom. Number 1,
Van Wilder.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, me too. That's on Prime, Tubi, Hoopla, Freevee, Pluto, and Peacock. So we will be watching Van Wilder to explore at the top of our next episode.
Dice did not want to walk down the plank at all. Go into the bigger numbers.
So
all my honorable mentions were Revenge of the Nerds, Animal House, Old School PCU, Van Wilder. That's really it. Road trip, a Euro trip. But
Euro trip is the end of high school and the pre college. So I'd save that for a high school one. So I got everything on with the exception of one, and that was Neighbors. And I'm just not seeing it enough to really
I watched it once and it's good, but I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, these others are better.
Yeah, didn't make the list. Sorry, Zac Efron.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Can kiss my ass. No, I love you, dude.
Okay. So you can find the show at ufpodcast.podbean.com. You can check us out on Facebook at the Unorthodox Film Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Threads at ufostudio.detroit. And you can follow me at Beeford Clark on both Instagram and Threads. Joe, how can people find you?
They can find me on the Facebook, Joseph Sheldon Quick, the Instagram at chaotic_artisan, and at most of the links that Brad just described for the podcast.
Our show links are going to be in the description. You can like and follow and subscribe on many, if not all of those platforms. We would love it if you would. Definitely helps the growth of the podcast. If you like what you hear and you think you'd love to hear more, hit that like and subscribe button and you'll be able to be notified of our new Yes, on our new update episodes. And yes, and get in on the conversation. What were some movies that we didn't mention tonight that are off-color college commentaries that just didn't come across our pathways? Let us know. Let us know what you thought about the titles that we did list. And let us know what kind of topics you would like us to discuss in the future with our guests. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time.
Shibbity bop, ski bop.